All right, first thing we're talking about today is carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are probably the most important thing when it comes to fueling endurance sports. Carbohydrates are what powers your body to continue to go. And it's the first thing that your body taps into when you're out there training and it's asking for energy. You're consistently burning through your reserves, and carbohydrates are the first thing that your body says, okay, I want some of that. It's the easiest thing for you to utilize and tap into when you're out there on the road. It's also massively important when it comes to a recovery perspective because you've got throughout your muscles these reservoirs that store carbohydrate. And these reservoirs are very important in order to pre-fuel before your sessions, but also to replenish after the session. So carbohydrate, it's going to make up about 75 to 80% of your diet. When it comes to the actual food you intake, that might be even more if you're training very hard. So it just really depends on how much you're training and what you're doing. But carbohydrate, I think, is a very important place to start because it is what fuels your training and helps you recover. I like to think about it like a gas tank. So you've got this tank, and when you eat a carbohydrate-rich meal, or you just eat carbohydrates in general, your body takes that, it processes it, and then it puts into your bloodstream and it fills up those reservoirs with carbohydrate. And when you go to train and you go out there and do your session, your body taps into those. And it will, go down just like the fuel gauge in your car. And so if you're chronically depleting those stores, they don't fill up quite the same way. So it's important to consistently fuel your body before, during, and after training with carbohydrates to ensure that that gas tank is sort of always sitting at a level where it's not completely empty. Now, what if you do get completely empty? If you do so during a session, you're going to have a massive decrease in performance. You might know that it's bonking. You're going to have a ton of adverse side effects when it comes to that. You might be dizzy, you might get a headache, you might feel like you have low blood pressure, low blood sugar. Your performance is going to completely decrease. Your ability to run and your muscles to actually fire and work is going to be completely diminished because your body's going to be asking for those carbohydrates and it's not going to have any. So it's going to be like you're on the side of the road in your car, there's no gas in the tank, and you're just going to be sitting there on the side of the highway. So it's important to continuously dose those and throughout the day and throughout your training. Now, it's really difficult to do that because when you're out there on the road for an Ironman race or a really long bike ride or a long run, there's a limit to how much that your stomach can absorb and handle. So it's very important before the session to fuel up those stores with a little bit extra. Sometimes you can have your gas tank full, but maybe if you're going on a really long trip and there's no gas stations, you're going to throw a couple gas cans in the back to make sure that you can fuel up. So that's what you're doing by potentially preloading with some carbohydrates. We'll get into those details later, but that is why carbohydrates are so important.